So, in this episode, I am going to cut out the bulkheads on the CNC router. One thing that I do when I build a boat is by the time I'm finished with the hull, it's essentially my boat. So I pretty much leave the plans. I've kind of followed them vaguely, but generally I do what I want to do after that. I have an old WAPA that I'm going to be using all the parts off of, and the separation of the two Yakos, or the cross beams that support the Yamas, is 8 foot. So if I'm going to put a double bulkhead here in the middle, that's right here and right here for where the cross beams are going to mount, or the Yakos are going to mount. And then I'm going to come in 5 foot from the end down to right here for a flotation bulkhead. This will be sealed off. The top will be arched for structural reasons, and there'll be a 8-inch inspection hatch there. And the same on this end. This will be an 8-inch inspection hatch. This will be arched, probably 3/4 or 1 inch across, and I may even actually tie the plywood to a 55-gallon drum or barrel and let it set up and build an arch into it, because if it's curved this way, it's a lot stronger for one thing, plus water doesn't pool on it, plus it kind of matches the curve of the hull, so I think that's going to work out the best. Of course, there's going to be, as I mentioned, a double bulkhead right here that'll actually already be bolted together, and there'll be a 1/4 inch gap between them. Then I'll just seal the top off, and basically that's so that if in the future I want to cut this in two and make it into 2 separate sections that I can carry in the rack on the pickup truck, I can do that, or I can just leave it there as it is. I'm going to CNC those double bulkheads, of course, so they'll be a perfect match. Bolt them together, fill them on, and just forget about them. There will be a seat somewhere right around here to sit on when you're running the tiller and whatnot. There'll be hiking seats going off the sides here, of course, as well. There'll be another seat right here. I'm actually going to move the mast forward a little bit from the other one. The other one actually has the lee board right almost dead center, which means it spans the 2 hulls. So I'm actually going to sit, because this one's 20 foot, the other one's only 16 foot, I can afford to move the lee board forward just a hair so that it's actually only mounted on this one hull. It makes construction a little simpler. There'll be a seat right here, and of course this bulkhead right here, which will add a tremendous amount of structural strength and stiffness to that. So that's what I'm going to do for this. I still have some fairly rough sections I need to sand out a little bit in here, and I need to rough up so it'll take a varnish this area. Now, of course, this area here that's going to be underneath the deck, I don't really need to rough that up, so that's not going to need any varnish. The sun will never get there, and that's the main reason you varnish it. Interesting to see the little bubbles that popped up where the stable holes were. But anyway, I'm going to work on that, and I will do a video for the CNC cutting of all the bulkheads and the installation of those. I'm not going to video the sanding and the cleanup of this because that's pretty basic and I've already covered that. Anyway, talk to you later. Bye. So there you have the center bulkhead. This is a double bulkhead. There's a 1/2 inch spacers between them where the bolts are going to go through. This is to allow me in the future, if I want to run like an 1/8 inch drill bit down here with a 1/2 inch sleeve on it, drill some strategic holes, and then cut this very carefully in two, and then have a 2-section canoe that I can put on the rack on the pickup truck. You saw I filleted the edges. Yesterday you saw me put just a little bit of epoxy on 3 spots and let it set up overnight, so that I wouldn't have to clamp it and I wouldn't have to worry about it moving. After I very carefully aligned it, and I used the square, and of course the whole top isn't square, but if I match this to this, it's about an 1/8 inch off and an 1/8 inch off. That's straight up and down, or close enough for government work. So you saw when I put the tape on that I actually split it up into 4 different pieces. I probably could have made it turn the corner, but it would have been all cockeyed, and this one would have been quite a bit shorter than this fiber. So anyway, it was just easier to do split up. You saw me fillet it there first. Anyway, I think this is going to be good. I'm going to leave this here overnight, of course, to set up, but I'm going to leave this bulkhead in place and not cut it right now. Right here is going to be the lee board. There'll be a seat right here and a little bit of structure underneath to strengthen the lee board, because there's a lot of side forces, and this is still very flexible just because it's so thin. Back there, of course, are going to be flotation chambers. Next week I'm going to do videos on the flotation chambers with the bulkheads. It won't have the wood, it'll just be the 1/4 inch ply with a fillet and glass tape on at least the inside. And then there'll be an arch to the top of it to give it a little stiffness, structural strength, and also to match kind of the flowing, curving lines of the canoe. So I'm going to put the deck on both ends next week. And then the week after, I'm actually going to build watertight hatches to go on the top of the flotation chambers, using some stainless draw latches and a gasketing material. I've actually had big problems with commercial watertight hatches. The little smaller deck plates, they work okay, but it's hard to get anything in. The bigger Bomar type hatches, which you use on the end of these, they don't seal. They leak, they get sand in the seal and whatnot. So I'm going to do some watertight hatches on the end of this, and that should be an interesting one. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next week.